there is living hope for today with the certainty for tomorrow. And that stems from your choices.
Today, we're delighted to introduce you to Carolyn Deck. She is the author of the book, Above the Turbulence, Your Ticket Out of Pain to Purpose. She will share with us how she conquered childhood pain by using the trials as fuel to help her rise above her past brokenness. Welcome to Hello World, Carolyn. Thank you for joining us to share your story.
Hi, Lily. It's a privilege to be here. Thank you for having me.
I just love your accent. Please share with us where you're from and a little bit about yourself.
Yes, thank you. Well, as my husband would say, I'm a little further south of Miami. I'm
Yes.
from New Zealand,
Mm,
born and raised. Um, I grew up as a little girl there. Moved around a little bit, as we will talk about,
mm-hmm,
with homes and so forth. I then actually found myself living in America for a year as an exchange student.
mm-hmm,
Um, and that was amazing.
mm-hmm,
And I love my family. We're still in touch today in Kansas and Wichita.
mm-hmm.
Um, and that was just such a blessing and a highlight for me
Yes.
as a child growing up, actually. I returned to New Zealand, got into the travel industry
Mm-hmm.
and spent my career as a travel agent, and then married, had four children in New Zealand, and then we moved. We moved to Australia, had another child there, dear sweet William, and really we've just spent we've been married 32 years.
Wow.
Yes, we had 15, I think it was 15 years in Australia. I started in South Australia,
Mm.
moved to Brisbane for another 3 years, and then we've been in Chicago for the last 8 years.
Oh, you're now in Chicago. It's
Yes, love
such
it.
such a difference from being south of South Florida.
Yeah. Well, funny though, Lily, this city is called the Windy City,
Yes.
and I grew up in Wellington.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Windy City.
Oh,
So for
you,
different reasons.
for different
But yeah.
reasons. So we will, as we go along with our conversation today, everyone will hear a lot of, travel related terminologies, and that makes sense because you've been a travel agent for a good part of your career, right?
Yes, yes. So it was all my career, and then I was grateful to be able to stop and raise my children.
That's fantastic that you have that
Yeah.
choice. So I like to play a little game,
Yes.
just to get to know you a little bit more. What are like three words or three short phrases that would best describe you?
Passionate, strong, and hopeful.
Those three words will come out through our conversation. Perfect. Thank you for thinking through that because it's a quick way to kind of get deep, right?
Yes. I mean, I could tease those out, but
Hmm.
as you say, you'll probably hear more as we go on.
Okay. Well, we're going to kind of cover basically what's written in this book, and hopefully everyone will have a chance to buy it. But what this book kind of started out with is you had a little bit of a turbulent start in your life. Could you explain that turbulence or share that turbulence with with our audience so they can have an understanding of where things got started or where you come from with your past?
Sure. Yes, well, sadly, it's a story that is well read, I think, in today's world, children
Mm,
coming out of dysfunctional families.
hmm.
As people, we come broken. We do. We come with our own baggage, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
And because we get married doesn't mean that then now two broken people make a perfect
Right.
unity, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They come together in the hope that things will be wonderful. But the reality is that we do come with our own issues, our own insecurities. And that was no different for my parents. And sadly, that overwhelmed them as people and they grew apart. And then, yes, it became very turbulent and very dysfunctional for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And my older sister was there for me as a child growing up, but I found myself often being the adult in my family, helping my poor sweet mother,
Yes.
who was so struggling with her own life,
Mm-hmm.
and my dad struggling with his life, and they just really took two different paths. Mum took to, unfortunately, substance abuse, and my dad took to, let's get busy, let's get out of here, let's go refocus and help someone else. And that's basically the essence of what happened. Yes.
Yes. So it like you say, that's almost a little bit unfortunate commonplace where dysfunctional family happens or communication breakdown. So through that childhood, if you will, that season of life, how has that affected you?
Blessed, and I still ask the question sometimes, how is it that I came out okay? um, it wasn't until years later, and actually in the process of writing my book, Above the Turbulence, Your Ticket Out of Pain to Purpose, that I actually was able to stop and pause and refocus and go back, not to relive the turbulence, because I don't think that serves any purpose, but I revisited the past, and that gave me a very different framework to work toward as to understanding who I was and my identity. And so shape really, I take this from Rick Warren, Daily Hope, and S is your spiritual gifting. We're created by God, and he does gift us a very specific, unique gift. H stands for our heart, or for me, passion, very passionate person.
Yes.
A is our abilities. P is our personality, and E is our experience of life. And so we're all uniquely made. And when I stopped and paused and looked at that and the benefit of doing that, I was able to refocus and realize that out of the debris of that, I am who I am, but it doesn't define my future.
Sure.
It actually enhanced who I was, which was amazing insight.
When I read your book and when you described your childhood, there was a couple of points that really tugged at me. I guess the pain that I felt along with you. You mentioned in the book that as your parents were each going their own way in dealing with their unhappiness, you felt a little bit left out of the picture. And when things got worse, they were trying to figure out what to do with you in a way. Is that right?
Yes, they totally were trying to work out what to do with me. And yes, to your point, but I don't recall, in all honesty, there must have been feelings of rejection, right? That nobody wanted me, that maybe that meant that I was worthless. I wasn't worth caring for or worth having. I'm just grateful for the fact that I don't consciously remember that. What I consciously remember is when my wonderful sister and her husband offered to care for me.
Yes.
I just saw that as green light to go. And that just fired me up to go, wow, I've been given an opportunity And what am I going to do with this? I am choosing to take the absolute best out of this opportunity in life, because not everybody gets that. And perhaps subconsciously, I realized, wow, I have someone that loves and cares for me. Mum wasn't able to, and for some reason, Dad chose not to. But I didn't focus on that. I just focused on this, wow, this is an opportunity. I'm going to embrace it all. And I was so grateful.
So you shared about the shape, and that was interesting to think about. Each of us in our life has our own shape. So because of your shape and how you are made, you're able to look at when your sister says, I will take her under my wings if, okay, parents, you guys are having your own issues. You didn't say, woe is me. Because of your shape, you thought as a new day.
Yes. I didn't do the blame game either. And I didn't do the why. Why is this happening to me? This is my encouragement to everybody that, we live in a broken world, and we all have our own hurts and pains. But the most incredible thing is that if we are courageous enough to stop and go back down that path of pain, and don't ask why, reframe it.
Sure.
Reframe it and ask the what questions. What was happening back then? What was happening, perhaps not just to me, but to those around me? What can I learn from this? And when you do that, you move out of being a victim into victory. And so I challenge my reader to, and I had to challenge myself and be brave enough to look at the truth and dismiss the lie, because we could be covering up a hidden lie that needs exposing and needs light to illuminate into that. So Andy Stanley puts it very, really, very well. What we believe, we act on, and our actions create outcomes. Now, the problem is that people will keep acting and the outcomes change. Don't change. They act the same way based on what they believe subconsciously, and the outcomes are the same. So if we try to change our actions without really delving into the truth of what we believe, we're going to end up with the same outcome.
Right.
You see it over and over. And what do they say? The fool is the person that keeps doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome.
Yes.
It doesn't happen, or very rarely happens, until you make that intentional choice to go, whoa, hang on, let's just stop. I don't like this outcome. What, not why, but what can I do? Where is the power that I can take from my choices and my responses to what happened to me to give a different picture? Reframe our thinking and you'll get a different picture.
Were you always have that perspective, or is that something that has grown over time?
I think the answer really is, it was in me already. I was made like that, wired like that, it would seem, because as I've done the work and gone back, I've realized that is how I've responded subconsciously. Now I'm doing it really intentionally, and even more so. I am, like, as I said, I live in hope. I live in not just hope wishy-washy, oh gosh, well, I hope I get to the gym, or, oh, I hope I have that holiday, or I hope tomorrow will be sunny. It's not that kind of hope. It's a definite hope of, I know my tomorrow. It's a tangible hope that I know because of my faith. And because I know that, my today, which I don't know, we can't even say what's going to happen in half an hour, right?
Yes. Well,
so that gives me the motivation for my today.
For those who are not wired that way.
Yes.
how, I think that you kind of allude to some of the how-tos. What are
Yes.
your thoughts on how to, again, none of us are professionals. These are our opinions.
Experience. Yes.
How to address that if we're not naturally wired to bounce back in a certain way?
My feelings on that are it's really good to stop and pause and reflect. Having God's word as my authority, I tease out the fact that man simply do not know. We don't know what's going to happen in half an hour. We don't know what will happen next month. Humility is a really hard coat to wear. It's basically saying, I don't know.
Yes.
And when you can that posture, when you have the posture of I don't know, that makes you hungry to know more truth. And that's what I have found. And that's been my absolute experience. And so as to that, what do I do when you're not wired this way? I would say to those people, be careful, because often we are driven by our feelings.
Sure.
Be very careful. Feelings lie. A feeling is an emotion, and the emotions of anxiety and stress, anger, resentment, hatred, which just look around the world. I kind of feel like it's full of that, actually, sadly. And so it's no wonder that we've got those outcomes. So when you dismiss your feelings and actually start acting into what you want, your feelings catch up with you. And so you actually have to start acting and dismiss the feeling, because this feeling, it's like, I find it's paralyzing. People are paralyzed by their feelings, and their feelings lie. I mean, God tells us that out of our heart, we're so deceitful even to ourselves.
So I think your point's well taken, that sometimes we need to captivate our thoughts, because we can take our either driven by fear or driven by emotions, that we may sometimes take it more than what it actually is, and become too dramatic. But to ground ourselves, right, with truth.
Well, the other thing that is an issue with that is, who do we listen to? And worst off, we listen to ourselves, this monologue that goes on and on and on, round and round and round. And that drives us into all sorts of fear and anxiety, because we're filling our own head with things that are destructive.
Sure.
Not to mention the things that we listen to, we believe that we were told as a child, possibly, or a teacher might have told you you're useless or you're never going to achieve that. I mean, my son is testimony to that. He shared with his teacher he was going to be a pilot. He wanted to be a pilot, and the teacher said, well, Deck, you're never going to be a pilot. Well, guess what? He's a pilot.
Oh, wow.
And he's about to sign with American Airlines.
Everybody's in that travel industry. It runs in the family.
There you go. But so to my point, how, you asked me how, if you're not wired this way, we need to be intentional. And I liken it, here's one of my travel themed silly things, but I say you need to be the air traffic controller of your mind. When a thought comes in, send it away.
Yes.
Send it away. You do not have to have that thought land. And if it's not helpful, dismiss it. If what somebody has said to you is hurtful, well, you could sift to see if there's a little bit of truth in that, that just maybe you need to address. But if it's really destructive, you have the power. No one else could control your choices or your responses. Only we can do that.
Yes.
So take control of that.
Okay. So we kind of covered that for you, your life started out a little bit challenging, but you were given an opportunity to start anew by your sister's offer to take you under her wings. And you mentioned in your introduction, and after that, you basically went packing and traveled all over the place, right? And what you were a foreign exchange student in Kansas, of all places to go, is middle of the country in Kansas, and then And then all your life experiences, like you say, shape you, you're provided the shape of Carolyn Deck. One thing you mentioned, I thought that was so interesting because of your personality and how it matched your name. And would you like to share your naming, the different?
Sure.
Yeah.
So my dear friend Tammy, she guided me to a book called To Be Told. And in that book, it asked me to look at the meaning of my name. And all through the Bible, you see stories of who God used and how he changes their name, or he empowers them into their name. And I looked at my name, and so I had this thing going on with my dad always wanting a boy. And it was this aha moment that my name, Carolyn, which I never have liked because they always people get it wrong. Oh, hi, Caroline. I'm like,
Right. There's variations.
yeah, it's irritating. And Dad, for his children, seemed to choose Bible names, and mine's not in the Bible. And I'm like, huh. So anyway, I had to look at the meaning of my name. And my father's name is Charles. And Charles means, on the feminine side, Carolyn means strong. That was my aha moment, that yes, I am so strong. I came through dysfunction. I had victory over that.
Yes.
I love that. One of my other passions is sport. I love sport, and I played a lot of sport. So I was really physically strong. I feel I'm really mentally strong, not in having PhDs or anything, but strong in experience of life and strong in persisting.
Resilience.
Resilience. Yes, I've had many operations. I've had to learn how to walk again many times. And I'm like, yes, wow, I am strong. This is awesome. I am who he created me to be. And that was a very emotional moment for me to actually have that aha moment.
What a blessing to, I think you just recently found out as you were writing the book, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so that's your name is that your father gave you actually kind of
Perfect.
It's perfect. Yeah, it's actually perfect. So
Yes.
that's
Yes.
really
It was really sweet. And not only was it sweet, it fitted well into my story that be
yes.
careful what we believe. See,
Yes.
our self-image or what we tell ourselves is so destructive.
Yes, sometimes
Destructive.
we talk to ourselves the worst way.
We're the
Yes.
worst person. It's awful.
So one thing I wanted to ask, because you wrote the story, you heard a calling to write the story, and kicking and screaming or not, you did it, and now you're out there and talking about it. My question for you is, doesn't that feel like you're picking at your heart's scab every time you have to talk about it?
That is such a great question, actually, Lily. I've got my book here. I'll just read a quote
Sure.
and an answer to that question. It's the third chapter, so it's very early on in my book, and it's on page 12. Until we stop, face, in other words, be truthful, face up, and heal the wounds of our past, they will continue to bleed, leaving a stain on our lives.
Yes.
So, to your question, how is it that I can do this? I don't have scabs, I have scars. I am healed. A scar, and this was another aha moment. It was like, wow, God wants to use the scars, not the scabs. He wants us healed. We sometimes resist the healing, but he wants us healed so that then we can move on in life. And I realized another aha, wow, did Jesus die on the cross? He was scarred, right? He had wounds in his feet, in his hands, in his side. He was God. He died as man, but he rose again as God Guess what? He didn't have scabs. He had
Yes,
scars.
scars. So
And
interesting.
that was so powerful for me. And that's why he goes, my favorite lifeline verse is Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you. They are good, not to harm, to prosper and give hope.
There you go. Is
There
that
it goes.
is that
And
from a is that from
it was a
travel?
gift.
It was
It
a
was a
gift. Somebody
gift
understood.
from one of my readers. And interestingly, it's another aha moment. I'm from New Zealand, and my Facebook page, you'll see I am hope. This is decades ago. And now I have a jumper that says hope. And now my message is hope. You see, that's how God works.
The dot
He
connecting, huh?
is very dot connecting, and that leads into the next
Yeah.
thing as to who my faces with names people are.
And your book used a lot of travel analogies or travel vocabularies, if you will. And there were a couple of example that I'd just like for you to unpack a little bit for us. The first one that you use that I like to hear more about is you talk about packing light or packing lightly. What does that mean, and what does that mean to you personally?
Sure. So, as a travel agent, I would highly suggest that when you go on holiday, if you're holidaying or traveling, they're slightly different things, but it is so much easier to travel with less. And my experience is that you don't wear half of what you take anyway. And so getting through airports, delays, etc., if you can possibly condense it all the way down to a carry-on bag, which is what my husband and I now travel with,
That's
um,
hard.
as opposed to lugging a great big suitcase full of clothes that really you don't need. So my analogy with that is, as humans, we just can't help ourselves, but we carry excess baggage. And like I alluded to with my poor parents, they came into a marriage with baggage. We all have our own baggage. It does weigh us down.
Yes.
It's painful, and it usually costs. It costs a lot.
What is one thing you can look back and said, I left that baggage of my life? What is there an example that you can think of that we can relate to? And I left that one back there, for
Yes.
example.
The lies. Lies I told myself. Um, Subconsciously, I think more so than anything. But this narrative in my head that, oh my gosh, I came out of failure, I'll be a failure.
I see.
Mm.
Or like you say
You know
before.
that saying, an apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Oh,
That is true in some respects, but again, we still have choices. And my dear mother was in her emotional state, really, from a choice of hearing her mother say something when she was a little girl. And she clung hold of that lie. And so for me, I don't have the smarts of a degree or going off to university, but I do have the benefit of having stopped and reflected and gone, well, they were my mother's choices. They don't have to be my choices. And in a very fragile, vulnerable part of our lives when Mum and I were sharing together, she said, okay, so your father gave you, the introduction and planted the seed of faith. And I can see that harvest has, you reap what you sow. And so, Yes, I've reaped that harvest over and over, and he's so trustworthy, and I just love that. Mum said to me, "So what have I given you in life?" And this was very painful for her to hear, but it was the truth. And I'm all about being strong on truth. I said, "Mum, this pains me to say, but you taught me how not to live."
Wow.
And she looked so forlorn and sad, understandably. And I gave her a big hug and we cried. And I said, "But Mum, that is almost one of the greatest lessons you could have given me, because life is all about choice and how we choose to respond." And seeing her life unfold the way it did as I was a child, as an adolescent, making choices, as a teenager, in my 20s and my 30s, I kept that sort of forefront that I have a choice. And yes, that those choices sadly defined my mother's life, but they don't have to define
To be
mine.
yours.
And I need to be responsible for my choices.
That what a thank you for sharing that, because that really brings home that concept of traveling light. Now another one I thought it was so today, because I see everybody wear them on the plane, is the noise canceling headphones.
Ah.
You had that analogy. So again, share with us, and how did you apply it in your life?
So we have noise waves and voices and messaging coming at us 24/7. And in fact, some people can't actually live without it. The first thing they do in the morning is turn on the television or,
CNN or yeah.
yeah, messages on their phone. It's just like filling this headspace, right? And so for me, what I worked on, and I say, to be a master of something, you have to practice it. And I haven't fully mastered it because, you get under attack a few times and then your brain goes back and you feel sorry for yourself, and then you've got a choice. So for me, having noise canceling headphones means I'm not going to allow that to enter my brain. I'm going to be the air traffic controller. I'm going to send that away. I'm going to send that noise away that destroys me or that is a lie or that is not uplifting. And I'm going to actually intentionally put on noise canceling and listen intentionally to what does uplift me, what is empowering, what does motivate me and strengthen me and give me hope. That's what I listen to.
And you call that your playlist, right?
Good. Yes, and it's kind of like living with a rhythm. I mean, you have your playlist rhythm, but my rhythm in life each day is I get up and my first playlist is I want to know what God has for me today. I want to hear the good news. I don't need to hear the news because let's face it, most of it isn't good.
That's why
And
we have the
so
Hello World podcast, so we can bring some good news.
that's it. So I, on a regular basis for decades now, I listen to Daily Hope. It's a theme of my life.
Seems like it.
It is. It's a theme. And I listen to Daily Hope, and I love Rick Warren because you're a 7 on the Enneagram. I'm an 8. And it says that I really hate lies, which means I love and live into truth. And I love how Rick Warren, he just he just talks truth, and he
Truth of you.
talks so plainly
Yeah.
and honestly. And so I listen to him. That's my first, between him and Dr. Jeremiah, which is turning point.
Yeah.
I love that. And then I have my Bible study fellowship, which,
Yes.
so that's what I fill myself with. And then if I'm feeling a bit down, I will listen to some uplifting music. My girlfriend just sent me one. Oh, this is great. Yesterday she sent me one. I think it's Rise Like Lazarus.
Oh yes, I think I've heard it. It's pretty
That's
powerful.
amazing. And so the lyrics say, you're in the darkness of the lies. Rise like Lazarus into the truth and live. I'm like, oh, that's my song.
Powerful.
Yeah, it's so powerful. And again, we have choices.
Yes.
We can choose what we listen to. We can choose who we listen to. We can change channel.
And
We
choose what
can,
not to listen to.
yeah, turn it off.
Turn it off.
I
Okay,
know.
so now with the book, when I
Yeah.
purchased the book on Amazon, I noticed that all the proceeds goes to Faces with Names. Who are they and what did they do and why did you choose to give all your proceeds to them?
When I was a little girl, we didn't have a lot, and I would be given money for either birthday or Christmas. And the seed of love of Africa was sown way back then. For whatever reason, I don't know. I was only a kid, I was only little, but I was fascinated and I loved all things Africa. Fast forward, I'm a travel agent, and now I find myself in Africa and I'm pinching myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, childhood dream, I'm
Yes,
here.
yes.
Collecting sticks out in the open savannas, these tall grasses, and then out of nowhere came these little faces at me. Such joy in it, not happiness, but joy. It was like if it was happiness, if it's based on happiness, well, they have nothing. So our happenings are based, make us happy or not. Well, these children had joy. They had nothing, but you could tell their eyes were so welcoming. They welcomed me into their space. And I just went, oh my goodness, if one day I'd love to connect somehow, I don't know. Fast forward, I now have a daughter who wants to go to Malawi and build homes for orphan children.
Wow.
And, through HIV, now they're orphans. And so she came home with the most glorious photos of these little children and, they're switching their hands over, going, well, you look different to me.
Yes.
And our hands this way are the same, but that's like, how can this be? Oh, the interaction was priceless. And I just saw their faces again. So now fast forward, I'm writing a book. I have no idea what I'm doing. So I invest in myself. I pay for a trip to Austin, Texas, where I go to a writing workshop.
Okay.
Meet a man called Eric Mills. And we've had all day writing. We're exhausted. We're sitting around a fire. And I said, okay, Eric, so what's your story? And he goes, oh, I'm writing about adopting a little girl from China. But that's actually led me to a foundation called Faces with Names. And then he showed me his brochure.
There's
I hope you can see it.
there's the face.
Now, I just had this epiphany, this aha moment. I'm like, oh my gosh, that seed of love was planted as a child. Decades later, I went. A decade later, my daughter went. And now a decade later, I met Eric and he said, sometimes in life, you just join the dots. You just got to he joined the dots. And then I knew, oh my gosh, I am writing this book. So all proceeds go to help these little kids in Uganda and the widow wives.
Wow. And those dots took 3 decades to kind of connect, but it all came
Well,
together.
almost 50 decades, really.
5 decades.
Because
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because you were a little girl.
when I was a
Yes.
little girl. And, my lifeline verse, and this is what I fill my head with, and this is where I get my hope from. I have certainty of my tomorrow. And my lifeline verse is Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, good, not to harm, to prosper and give what? Hope. And it's like he just keeps joining these dots and he's leading me back to him. And this is the story of my book. He wanted me to heal. I live in victory now. I'm healed. And so that's why I can now give my message of hope, because I live into it every day. It is living hope. It's solid, and I know my future is secure and certain. I know where I'm going, and I just want to bring everyone along with me.
How beautiful is it to be able to see the dots connected and things to make sense, and the message of hope that repeats throughout your life. And once you can string it together, it's even more powerful. So
Yes.
what's next for you?
So I want to read my book. I want to create an Audible book.
With your beautiful accent, that'd be awesome.
Thank you. Yes. So that's definitely on the list of things to do, and I need to hurry up and get going with that. My daughter and I, we're going to travel to Uganda.
Okay.
So I want to get more involved hands-on with helping them, and being open to how I can do that. My husband, interestingly, and I'm helping him join his dots. he he will be coming into retirement soon, and he's had over 40 years in the agricultural space.
Okay.
And part of Eric's vision for the future for these children is, so far they have a medical center, they have a primary school, they have fields, they're growing crops, but in the very near future, they've secured a deposit for parcels, they call it parcels of land. And so they're going to be taking these children not just to primary school, but their vision and their hope is to take them right through school and get them fully educated. So that is something that's going to be happening. They're creating a bigger medical center. They are growing crops now. This is where my husband gets involved to actually grow them efficiently. And you'll see, if you have a look at me on Facebook, I am Hope. That's my message on, interestingly, which I put on there like 2 decades ago. So that's again very interesting.
Very interesting.
You'll be able to see exactly this vision and where it's going. It's so exciting. And then recreationally, there's going to be a pocket of land there for them to play soccer.
That sounds really exciting. I'm really happy that that's coming into fruition. Now, at the end, we're coming to an end, and I know we talked a lot about various different things. And I just want to give you an opportunity to kind of recap or to leave behind this lasting message, what you want the audience, if they heard nothing else, if they went and got a cup of coffee, didn't catch everything, what is the one last message that you want everybody to hear?
I want them to know that there is living hope for today, with the certainty for tomorrow. And that stems from your choices. Empowering people to understand and be aware that you have a choice, even if people have made choices for you. You still have a choice. How are you going to respond? So I want to empower people to be aware of that and to live into a living hope. It's available. It's there for us all. But it's a choice.
Fantastic. Carolyn, thank you so much for sharing your heart, your hope, your passion with us. And we hope that everyone would, if they're interested and they like what they hear, to check out your book on Amazon. And also, if they're interested in what they hear today, and that they would like to either give us a like or subscribe, that they can hear more and more good stories like this. Thank you so much. I hope you have a blessed endeavor with your book, and also what's to come when you guys travel back to Uganda.
Well, thank you, Lily. I really appreciate your invitation to come on today. It's an honor to be in this space. And yes, I truly hope and pray for everybody listening that they can tangibly grab a hold of this and live a life of abundance and joy and hope like I have.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the episode. We have a lot of fun putting the episodes together, trying to bring you quality guests and good content so that we can inspire each of us to be our best version of ourselves. It would mean so much to us if you would subscribe to our channel and like our videos. Hope to see you next time.